Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure vehicle review. Today, we're going to be looking at the Spinmasters The Batman and Batmobile. Now this is for the 12-inch scale, 1/6 scale action figures. I personally have absolutely no interest in 12-inch scale figures. I bought this Batmobile with the intent to use it with my 7-inch scale McFarlane DC Multivese figures. Spinmaster keeps making these vehicles for 12-inch scale figures that are grossly undersized, but work pretty good for your 6 and 7-inch scale stuff. Although this Batmobile seems a little large. I've been trying to track this thing down for a reasonable price for a very long time. Movie came out over a year ago, and I've had no success. It's been at Japanese retailers, but with shipping, it's like $250 to get to the US, so no thank you. This thing should retail for about $25-30, and it's a great bang for your buck at that price. It is giant. I want to give a big shout out to my boy Jake. I work with him. My card wouldn't go through at Amazon UK, and he got it for me. I paid far more than I should have, but I'm happy to check it off my list. I'm guessing eventually it'll be available in the US for retail price, but who knows. At least it's finally off my to-get list. So, let's take a look at the packaging, which is giant. So, as you can see, the Batman plus Batmobile. Little warning here. And here it is in the package. We have the car itself, and then this 12-inch scale basic Batman figure, which personally I have no interest in, but it'll probably go alongside a couple of my other 12-inch figures I got that came with vehicles. So, at the bottom of the package, simply a bunch of red. There is a barcode, in case that happens to help anybody. Now, it almost looks better if it was on sideways in the packaging. You see Batman laid down here. On the back side, you can see the car, Batman. Actually looks really cool here. You can see the action feature where the canopy slides open, allows you to put the figure inside of there. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that you have this vehicle and figure out of the package, here they are with all their accessories laid out. That's kind of a joke, as they come with absolutely no traditional accessories, although I look at this Batman figure as the accessory to this Batmobile. Now, I bought this just for the Batmobile. I have little to no interest in a 12-inch scale Batman figure. Very basic, although he can hang out with the other Spinmaster ones I've accumulated. My plan is to use this Batmobile with 6 and 7-inch scale figures, specifically 7-inch scale McFarlane DC Multivese figures. That is what this video is going to be covering. I collect 6 and 7-inch scale figures. You can see the background here. It's the Extreme Sets Batcave 2.0, which is intended for 6 or 7-inch scale figures, and the car fits in perfect. In this video, we're going to take a look at this vehicle. We'll see if McFarlane DC Multivese, the Batman figures, fit inside of it. We'll compare it with a bunch of other Batman vehicles in this scale, and then we'll check out a ton of Batman figures from different various companies and see which ones fit inside this thing. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Before we look at the car, let's check out the Batman figure and get that out of the way real quick. So this is a 12-inch scale, 1/6 scale Robert Pattinson from the Batman. It's a very basic figure. So, start with this face here. Yeah, they kind of got it right. I mean, not really Robert Pattinson, but it has a sort of signature, the Batman look to it. The cowl, the chin. It does scream the Batman. The likeness is far from accurate to Robert Pattinson. It's got the bat symbol on the chest, armor plates. It looks familiar, just very, very, very basic. I mean, this is a very cheap action figure, really intended for smaller kids. That being said, I mean, all that into consideration, it doesn't look so bad. Fins here, single jointed elbow, and guess no rotation. Head simply turns around. Does go up and down a little bit. The cape sucks. Look how wrinkled that is from the package. That is not easy to fix. Maybe I can put a book down or something, but God, that looks like shit. Legs, they aren't ball joints. Single knees. He does have the sort of cartridge without the grabber launcher on his thigh there. I mean, it's not horrible for the price. It's actually pretty good. It's just very big and basic. Not something I'm into. But now for the car. Now in the Batman, if you didn't know it was a Batmobile, you probably wouldn't think much of it. It looks like a muscle car. but it's reinforced with steel. It goes really fast, bulletproof, etc. It's kind of cool for a year 2 Batman, and it's definitely different from the previous Batman film. Now, Spinmasters here, they're very basic as far as vehicles go. Still, they actually look really nice on the outside, and they can usually fit any of your figures in there. Very spacious, because they're intended for 12-inch scale figures, so sometimes you have to actually alter these to make it work for your smaller figs. I always thought McFarlane should have made one of these in their DC Multiverse line. They decided to test the waters with the Batmobile right around the time this movie dropped. I thought that was such a dumb decision. They did an excellent job with the '89 Keaton Batmobile from The Flash, making it affordable and look fantastic. They probably could have done something very similar with the Batman Batmobile. Now, there is a Hot Toys 1/10 scale version, which is going to be pretty similarly sized to this. And that thing is probably going to look better than this, but it costs quite a bit more. We will check them out later in the video. In the meantime, let's take a look at this car. So, it's pretty light. Feels kind of hollow. The front, got headlights here. Very sort of square shaped. Definitely kind of makes me think of the DeLorean from this angle. Tires here. Plastic, not rubber. They do move. They move independently of each other. Here's the front. Got the engine kind of sticking out. It's got a little step to get up into the car. Back wheels, of course, exactly the same. Now look at that. Very well done. We got the light back there. All the different exhausts. This is where the flame would come out. Closest thing we have to fins on this car. Then, of course, the bottom. Pretty blank. Not really much going on here, although that looks pretty cool there. Now, in order to put the figures in here, the canopy does open, and that's such a very basic sort of way to do it, but you know what? It's a 2-seater. It looks good. It's going to hold your figures, but they are intended to sort of lay all the way down in there, the 12-inch guys. So you might need to put some in there to block their feet. Beyond that, you shouldn't have to really alter much. 2 seats, steering wheel, very basic controls on the inside, but still not totally blank. Considering the price that this is sort of going for, it's a very good value, although unfortunately I had to pay a little extra to get it imported. A closer look at some of the details in this thing. For a basic car, it's really not bad. Headlights look good. Stuff sticking out of the hood here is good. Wheels are pretty basic looking. The step is a nice little touch there. As a whole, like I said, for a basic Spinmaster vehicle, it looks pretty nice. Now, the way the canopy opens, it's kind of dumb, kind of basic, but it gets the job done. You'll easily be able to put 2 figures in here. The Hot Wheels version, the top didn't open, and it's a pain in the ass to sneak the guy through the window there. Now I wanted to check out the measurements of this thing. It is a large vehicle. As far as how deep it is from front to back, 21 inches deep. As far as how tall it is, the tallest point, about 6.5 inches tall. And as far as how wide it is, 10.5 inches wide. Now I want to look at the action features, and there's really not much. Of course, you have the wheels that actually spin, whoop-de-doo. Then you have the canopy that opens up. It's hinged. You'll be able to put 2 figures into here. That is it as far as the action features go. But what more do you need a Batman car to do? Drive around, actually hold the figures. It already does more than some of them out there. So let's get to the real meat and potatoes of this video. Let's put some action figures in this thing. Now, let's start off by putting the 12-inch Spinmaster Batman inside of this. Just to get that out of the way, this is what's actually intended for this vehicle. So, open up the top, take the figure, bend him down, sit him in there. Now, that would be how somebody would sit in a car, but since the car is not scaled properly for them, you gotta put them way down in there. Bam. Actually works pretty good, although he's ridiculously oversized for this car. I mean, literally, look at him. He's about twice as big as he should be next to the size of the vehicle. But you know what? That is perfect. Exactly what I wanted and hoped for. The figures I collect are a little bit larger than half the size of this guy. Funny how it works out so perfect sometimes when it's not intended to. And just because, here's this Robert Pattinson, the Batman figure, next to Michael Keaton Batman from The Flash. I got this with the 12-inch scale Spinmaster Batwing. which is also perfect for the 7-inch scale figures. If you're curious how they would fit, two 12-inch scale Spinmaster figures fit this Batmobile just fine, no problem. Full clearance. And now let's get to what we're all here for. Let's check out some McFarlane DC Multivese figures in this thing. Here's a Robert Pattinson Batman from The Batman, next to the Spinmaster 12-inch scale version of the Batmobile. They look pretty good next to each other. A lot more than the ridiculous 12-inch version. The car does seem a little bit too big next to him. So let's see how he looks inside. Like I said before, I believe he's going to have the temptation to sort of slide all the way down inside this thing. Bam. He sits complete ease. But like I said, you can slide him all the way down there. Ridiculous. This thing is so large. Simply putting something, I don't know, square shape down in there to prevent from going further than this would take care of that. Still, the seat itself is actually scaled up pretty good for this guy. I mean, look at that. It is literally meant for a figure of this size. At least that's what it looks like to me. Spinmaster. Gotta love them. And if you're curious how the two-seater option works, I stuck the Flash movie Michael Keaton Batman in this thing, just like I did with the 12-inch scale figures. They both fit just fine. Okay, the seat's a little bit too large for them. Michael Keaton Batman is not a small figure by any means, but McFarlane does have some larger Batman figures. You should be able to fit pretty much anything in this thing. And this vehicle is just absolutely hilarious. I mean, look at these guys. They're tucked all the way down in there. Pull them up. Sit them down. Slide them in. Out of the way. And in order to try to prevent them from looking dumb when they slide down to the bottom while you're driving the car around, I put something down there to prevent them from going down. You see Batman. He won't go further than that. Neither will this one. I simply just shoved a piece of cardboard down there. Oh, come on, it's going way in there. Like this. Now, I was just doing this to give an example. If you shove something in there, you'll be able to prevent them from sliding in. Something a little fuller than this. Very thin piece here. Just something that'll help me in the meantime. I'll find something a little better. Here's a look at both Batman and Catwoman from the Batman in this car. Yeah, they're a little bit undersized. But, you know, it works. It's not too often your vehicles are a little too large for the figures. Usually it's the other way around. Figures barely fit. Here's how they look inside the car. A little undersized. Sorry about the glare. Here's McFarlane's entire wave of the Batman figures in front of this Batmobile. It's a nice addition to the collection. And here are a couple of McFarlane's largest Batman figures in this thing. Both the Arkham Knight Batman and the Hush Batman. Both with their giant plastic capes, and they fit in, no problem. Even with complete clearance and ease. The only other company that's made a 6 or 7 inch scale of the Batman figure is SH Figure Arts. He's on the lower end of 6 inch scale, and it's definitely too small for this Batmobile. Both Mezco and Mayfags have upcoming versions of the Batman, and I can't wait to see how they fit in with this car. But they're probably going to be a little too small. Hell, McFarlane is almost a little too small. But they do fit in just right. Spacious, in the seat, two-seater, awesome. Here's the Spinmaster The Batman Batmobile on the left, next to the Hot Wheels 1/10 scale radio-controlled version on the right. Now, you can see the Spinmaster's one is quite a bit larger, so it's going to be probably something like, I don't know, 1/9, 1/8 scale, if you really get technical about it. It's very comfortable with the figures, but the details are a lot softer than the Hot Wheels version. Obviously the Hot Wheels one is a lot better quality, but it's going to cost a little more too. I mean, look at the details here. The Hot Wheel version, the engine in the back, looks way better than the Spinmaster version. Now let's check it out. Next to some other vehicles in a similar 6 or 7 inch scale. Here it is, next to the Hot Wheels radio-controlled Batmobile from the Batman. Two versions of this Batmobile. The Hot Wheels one is the superior version, even though it's really hard to get the figures in there. Then, next to both the McFarlane Batcycle and Drifter Motorcycle from the Batman. They work good as an armory next to this new Batmobile. Now let's check it out. Next to some other Spinmaster 12 inch scale Batmobiles. Here are a couple of versions that are sort of based off the comic look. Looks like they're from the White Knight. This is the first one they made for 12-inch scale figures, and is perfect for your 7-inch scale stuff. And here, next to a little bit more of an armored Spinmaster Batmobile from the comics, also for 12-inch scale figures, also purchased for 7-inch scale. And now, next to the Spinmaster's Batwing from the upcoming Flash film, also for 12-inch scale figures, also perfect for your 7-inch scale stuff. Now straight out, next to some Batmobiles from each of the different Batman films. Here it is, next to the 1966 Batmobile. We have the Mattel version on the left, and McFarlane's version on the right. The Mattel is definitely superior to the two. These are both for 6-inch scale figures. And in the 66 movie, they also used the Batcycle, the Batboat, and the Batcopter. Here are a couple of versions of the Batcycle. The one on the far left is from Hot Wheels. Then the next one is by McFarlane, and the Batboat's by McFarlane. Hoping we'll eventually get a Batcopter too. Here's the Spinmaster Batmobile, next to the Toy Biz Batwing and Batmobile from the 1989 film. These are intended for smaller 4.5-inch size figures. These are the vehicles he used in the 1989 film. And then Batman Returns, he used the Batmobile and the Batman Ski Boat. Here are two versions of them for the smaller scale. Here it is, next to the McFarlane DC Multivese 1989 Batmobile. This is from the upcoming Flash movie. Look at these vehicles next to each other. It looks amazing. Here it is, next to the Kenner Batman Forever Batmobile. This is for 5-inch scale figures. In Batman Forever, Batman also used the Batwing and the Batboat. These are Kenner versions for the 5-inch scale figures. Here it is, next to the Kenner version of the Batman and Robin Batmobile, also for 5-inch scale figures. And here it is, next to a couple more vehicles from Batman and Robin. We have the Kenner Bathammer and Kenner Robin's Redbird Cycle. When they finally rebooted the Batman films, they made Batman Begins, and of course, Batman had to have the Batmobile. They went with a more tank-type version called the Tumbler. Here are two different Mattel 5-inch versions on the left, and then a Soap Studios 6-inch scale version on the right. And in The Dark Knight, he used the Batpod. We have the Mattel version on the left, then the Mafex and SH Figure Arts versions on the right. And in The Dark Knight Rises, he flew the Bat. This is the Hot Toys 1/12 scale version. Here it is, next to 3 different custom camo versions of the Tumbler. In The Dark Knight Rises, Bane had 3 or 4 of these, and they rebooted the Batman franchise yet again. Here are 4 different Mattel Batmobiles from Batman vs Superman and Justice League. From left to right, we have the Batman vs Superman basic version, then the Justice League Ultimate Radio Controlled version, and then the Justice League Mattel DC Multiverse version, and finally the Justice League basic version, all for 6-inch scale. In Justice League, Batman also used the Flying Fox and the Nightcrawler. Here are a couple of Mattel 6-inch scale versions. Then they rebooted the Batman franchise yet again. Here are both versions of the Robert Pattinson Batmobile from The Batman. The one on the left, technically for 12-inch scale, the one on the right for 7-inch scale. And then here, next to all the different vehicles McFarlane has made from the upcoming Flash film. From left to right, we have the Ben Affleck Batman's Batcycle, Michael Keaton Batman's Batmobile, and Michael Keaton Batman's Batwing. Fantastic additions to your Bat Armory. Here are all of my different favorite Batmobiles from each of the different films. Unfortunately, the Spinmaster Batmobile doesn't make the cut. The Hot Wheels one looks better and is better scaled with the rest of the vehicles. Hoping for an update on a couple like the Batman Forever one, but who knows what the future will hold. Here's a Batmobile next to our cat named Barbara. We call her Baby for short. She's a little chonker. And now, next to both versions of the DC Direct Batman the Animated Series Batmobile, 6-inch scale. Here it is, next to the DC Direct Batman the Animated Series Batwing, 2-seater for a 6-inch scale. Then, next to McFarlane's Batraptor for a 7-inch scale. And here, next to both versions of McFarlane's Batmobeast, also for a 7-inch scale. And now, next to an older Mattel 6-inch scale 2-seater comic Batmobile. This is from 2005. And here, next to a couple more Mattel Batmobiles for the 6-inch scale, in both the Power Attack and the Batman Unlimited line. Then, next to a Mattel Batman Missions 6-inch scale Batmobile. And finally, here it is next to one of my favorite Batman vehicles in my collection. This is a custom Bat Tank from Batman The Dark Knight Returns. And yes, it does hold figures. I made a video on that if you're interested. Normally this is the part where I would compare it with a bunch of different Batman figures from different lines, to see how it fit in both scale and style-wise, in case you know which lines you can mix with it. But the truth is, it's not really necessary. McFarlane are the largest Batman figures that I collect. Large 7-inch scale figures. And it's going to obviously accommodate anything from McFarlane down lower. NECA, DC Direct, Mezco, Mattel, Mafex, SH Figure Arts, and more. The biggest problem is, they're just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. The McFarlane ones are already underscaled, so you could imagine how it's going to look by the time we get to the SH Figure Arts versions. Way too small, but they will definitely fit. So overall, it's a nice Batmobile and a great addition to the collection and the armory, but it's just a little bit too big for 7-inch scale figures. It's interesting because Spinmaster has made a ton of different 12-inch scale vehicles, and none of them are as large as this, at least proportionately to the figures. That being said, for a basic, cheap vehicle, it looks fantastic. Detail is great. The engine, inside, the sides, just the whole 9 yards, looks very good, especially for the price point. That is, if you're able to get it for that price point that it's actually intended for. But that is a whole nother story. Biggest complaint, it's just a little too big. Some minor modifications could really make this thing nice, but even the outside seems just a little bit too big. When I got the Hot Wheels one back in the day, I felt like that one was too big, but then look at this one. So if I were to rate this thing, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, and the only real reason that it gets a low rating at all is because of the size. It is just too big. It is, I think, the 5th different 12-inch scale Spinmaster vehicle that I've gotten, and it works probably the worst for the 7-inch scale figures, but still works pretty good. Put a little something at the bottom, keep from sliding in, and really, you got yourself a nice Batmobile from the Batman. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.